Hello,
Is this Michelle?
this is Michelle.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Um, so for people that don't know, this is Michelle. If you're a Tupac fan, I'm pretty sure you've seen this picture of Michelle and Tupac floating around the internet. We'll definitely get into the story behind that picture. But with that being said, I want to start from the beginning, and let's talk about you and Tupac relationship. We had a talk yesterday, and you told me you was from Compton, California, and you and Tupac ran in the same circle. So I definitely want to get the backstory behind all that. So with that being said, let's start from the beginning. How did you first meet Tupac?
I met Tupac on my birthday. This was back during the time when he had that album, Strictly for My Niggas. And actually he was, coming out of Oakland as well, dealing with Digital Underground, and he ended up in the music industry. And at that time, I was already, tied to the music industry because of my aunt, who actually had an album out, and she had been running around in the same circles with classic artists. And because of that exposure, it made it to where most of my associates were pretty much in the music industry. And we went to a party for my birthday at a place called Trips, and Tupac showed up. So it was like, wow. And he was like, happy birthday. I said, thank you. I'm like, wow. So it was like we ended up partying, hanging out at Trips. And then after the club ended, we went to this place called Larry Parker's and got into a really deep conversation about life. And he was not like the average artist. You know what I mean? He was not Hollywood or anything like that. He was just, this is me. What you see is what you get. You know what I mean? So it was like we clicked, and that was one night that I will never forget. It was like he was an old soul. You know what I mean?
What was the conversation?
And
what was the conversation?
we talked about the writing aspect is something that he was into. He was into writing scripts and movies, things like that. And I'm into the same thing. So, we talked about writing. We talked about politics, which was something that he was, pretty much aware of, and how things operated and how people did things. And he was a revolutionary, definitely. And I grew up a revolutionary also. So it was like we had a lot in common.
So let's go back a little. If I'm not mistaken, that picture that's been floating online with you and Tupac, that's from the Strictly for My Niggas, release party, right?
It was during that time. It was during that time as well, and it was my birthday too. You know what I mean? So, like I said, we ended up connecting there that same night. You know what I mean? During that time when he was out, Strictly for My Niggas was out, it all coincided together. Everybody kind of like met up. I can't even, it's kind of hard to explain, but I think it was meant.
So, I want to talk about that night because there's some more pictures online. Like it's a picture of Tupac and Busta Rhymes from that party, and I'm pretty sure it was other celebrities there. How was that night? I'm pretty sure it was definitely, a fun night or whatever. So.
It was real. It was fun, and it was not only fun, but it was a lot of artists there that actually mingled. It was not just Busta Rhymes, but it was a whole bunch of other different artists that were there also that night, and everybody was kind of like vibing. It was a nice energy, nothing negative. It was like it made you feel like you were a part of a hip hop community or, basically a community of people being diverse, as far as in the music industry. Because I think back then, what was it? I'm trying to remember that group. What was it that they sung the song Pretty Brown Eyes?
Oh, man, God.
Mint Condition.
Yeah,
they
okay.
were there.
Okay.
They were there. So it was, they were there that night too. Pretty brown eyes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any Tupac memories from that night?
I do. As far as the, hanging out that night, I remember when we went to Trips after the club. I mean, after Trips, I'm sorry, we went to Larry Parker's. It was a bunch of strippers that showed up there from Barbary Coast. It was crazy, and he wasn't even moved by it. So I'm like, you know, he was like, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? It was like, wow, But it was like he wasn't even moved by it. So I do remember that. He was more into the conversation as far as politics and, the movement, music, movies, moving forward. It was like he was constantly moving forward mentally. You know what I mean?
So, how did that picture come about? Who took the picture? Like, what was y'all talking about? How did that come about?
I think you was gonna ask that. Both of our faces look serious. If you notice that in the picture, there was a guy that was walking around taking pictures, and he took our picture. And there was a conversation we was having regarding the revolutionary situations, as far as what life would be like if it was a revolution. You know what I mean? How we as a people destroy ourselves, when we should actually be sticking together. A lot of stuff that's going on in the world is because we pretty much don't fight for anything anymore like we used to. You know what I mean? And the world was changing.
Yeah, that makes logical sense, because Strictly for My Niggas, the album, that was definitely an album about serious matters or whatever. So, that makes sense. So, from there, with you and Tupac, where did y'all friendship go after that?
He went to jail after that. He ended up going to jail. I do remember that. So it was kind of like, it was a chain of events, because I had a death in my family, with some stuff that was going on during that time. It was kind of crazy. It was like 2 years after the death in my family, Tupac was shot. So it was kind of like a chain of events. I'm going to get back at you. We're going to talk to each other. We're going to connect. We're going to do this. Okay, whoop-de-whoop. All right. And then it was kind of like he did his thing. I did my thing, because he was busy with his music, and he was busy trying to actually stay alive, if you really want to know the truth. And I went on with what I was doing. You know what I mean? And then I had a tragic situation that happened in 95 again. And right after that, Tupac was shot. Well, no, not right after that. It was Eazy-E. Eazy-E got sick. And then right after that, it was just like a chain of events.
So let's take it back a little. You said Tupac was, trying to stay alive. That was his main focus. What you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is it was always somebody coming for him. You know what I mean? It was always either he was dealing with the fact that he had a following, and the fact that he was a political individual with a mindset that was through his music, he was able to speak to the masses, and it was waking people up. So because of that, it became a threat.
Did you and Tupac have any discussions about that?
I'm not even going to go there on that one. I'm going to kind of move away from that one a little bit. Okay. But Tupac was telling a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, in so many words in his interviews, he was telling a lot of people that he was pretty much trying to stay alive and trying to survive. Even in his album, Me Against the World, it spoke about, what his fears were, and it was always death. And then he didn't fear it anymore. So it was like, okay, I know this is coming. It was almost as if you were dealing with Jesus again, and he was going around teaching, with his disciples, teaching, the truth. And then here we are, we had somebody that was against that wanted to take him out. So it was like the same situation. It was like history repeating itself, but in a new age with Tupac. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So you and Tupac did have discussions about him, you know, trying to stay alive and him being paranoid that somebody was trying to take his life, but you just don't want to speak on it, right?
I don't want to speak on that because I just out of respect for his family, you know, his sister, you know what I'm saying, and rest in peace, Afeni. I'm going to leave it as it is because it's right there. It speaks for itself. Afeni's gone, you know what I'm saying? Tupac's gone. You know, it kind of...
Absolutely. I definitely understand. So
right.
Let's take it back a little. How did you feel when Tupac got locked up for that sexual assault charge?
I knew that was all bullshit, okay? Honestly, okay? That's what it was. And that was like as if he was ready, you know, it was like they put him in hell, and then he sold his soul, and he got out, and he's out of here. It was a prophecy, even on his album. On his album, you know, I see death. I mean, on that song, I see death around the corner. If I die tonight, you know what I'm saying? All of that coincides with even when he was born and he was inside of his mother's womb when she was in prison, the prophecy was already there for him to come and even teach through music.
Right. Hey, you said Tupac sold his soul or whatever. What you mean by that?
What I'm saying is it's just like that. Not saying he actually literally did that. What I'm saying is it's just like, okay, when he went to jail, that's the belly of the beast. You consider that to be hell in jail, okay? And then he sold his soul, meaning that he got out on a record deal dealing with Suge Knight, okay? When he got out, it was like Suge was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this bail up for you. I need you to sign here on the tissue, and boom, you know, there it is. There's the deal.
I got you. That makes sense. I got you. So, you met Tupac at the Strictly for My Niggas release party. Y'all had a relationship after that. He got locked up for that sexual assault charge, which, you know, mostly everybody believe he was not guilty of that.
He wasn't.
Yeah, absolutely. When Tupac got released from prison or whatever, how was y'all relationship? Did y'all have any
when he got released from prison, he got sucked into death row. Okay. When he got sucked into death row, that was when he was, you know, he was dealing with Suge. Okay. And, you know, pretty much Suge was not a gangster type dude until he got into the industry. Okay. And then he hired the little goons around him. Okay. But it was like, once he started tying in with Suge, everybody kind of like went like, whoa, everybody's going to move to the side because we gonna wait and see what happens with this. You know, everybody pretty much knew what was going on with that record deal. And that was his way of getting out. You know, it was no other way out for him. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. So,
he wasn't, well, go ahead.
No. Keep going.
He wasn't, you know, he was basically trying to watch. He knew his time was short, and he knew it would be a matter of time before somebody would come after him and take what he had and take what he was trying to build. They knew a man like Tupac having money and major money would bring power, and they wasn't going to give power to somebody like that.
Okay, so you from Compton, California. Tupac joined Death Row, you know, which is affiliated with, you know, Bloods and Crips and people that was from Compton and stuff like that.
Correct.
So, you know, what was your relationship with Tupac at that moment when he joined Death Row?
Okay. With that situation right there, as far as how he dealt with Death Row, he was dealing with a lot of gang members, okay? You know, it was a lot of gang members that was in that circle. You know what I mean? Tupac was not a gang type person. Tupac was a chameleon. Okay? He was the type of person that he would blend in, get it how he lived type attitude. Like, I'm going to get it how I live, but at the same time, I got to watch my back too. I got to watch my front. I got to get security for security. You know what I'm saying? It was like he was on that page because of his mindset. It wasn't because of what was in his pockets. It was because of his mindset. You know what I'm saying? And during that time, he was surrounded by sharks that didn't have their minds open. Because if their mind was open, Tupac would still be here. That's my personal opinion.
Right. What's your personal opinion about Suge Knight?
You know, it's crazy. I wish I still had the letters to show that on online, but I don't have the letters. Suge wrote me after he went to jail when he was in Ione, California. When he was locked up in prison in Ione, he wrote me a letter, and because I told him I felt like Tupac's death was because, you know, it was I was hearing a lot of stuff and people were saying that he was behind it. But I felt like that was just a setup, and he was used as a fall guy. You know what I'm saying? Suge is actually not a bad person, personally. He told me in the letters, anything you need, just ask me. You know what I'm saying? He said, and they want to throw me. You know, he explained to me, this is real talk. He'll tell you himself. But he told me, he said, you know, I'm not responsible for that. I almost got killed. You know what I'm saying? And they used him. Okay, we going to use him. And it just, I mean, how can you prove otherwise? You really can't prove otherwise of what happened because there is no proof. You know what I'm saying? When they want you out of here, that's what it is. You know what I mean? And I believe that Suge was set up. He was used. And he didn't even really know it. He didn't even really see it coming. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like he was in it for the money. I feel like he actually genuinely had love for Tupac, but he also had love for money more.
So let's take it back a little. You're from Compton, California. Tupac, you know, most people think Tupac got killed by Compton Crips or whatever. You from Compton, California, so I'm pretty sure, you know, you have some insight on that. Is there anything you want to share, or, you know, or anything you can share about that? Because most people think Orlando Anderson is the one that killed Tupac.
Baby Lane, huh?
Yeah, Baby Lane, and he was a Compton Crip, you know, and you from Compton.
So, I don't feel like he did that. I really don't. I don't. That's my personal opinion, okay? I feel like he was thrown under the bus, too. I feel like he was used. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Baby Lane had love for Pac, and I feel like he looked up to him, and I feel like he kind of like wanted to be like him and wanted to run in a circle. I feel like, again, you know, when you're dealing with this type of situation, you're dealing with guys that's in the industry and people that's also on the streets, and they have a street reputation, and then you got people, you know, they want to get into the industry too. Some of them can't discern the difference between the two. And I think what happened that night, I don't feel like that was Orlando Anderson.
So did you know Baby Lane personally?
No, didn't know him, but heard of him.
Okay, so back in the day when Baby Lane was alive, you did hear about him, right?
I knew about him, yeah. I knew about his reputation and what he was about. He was, you know, they was from one area in Compton, which wasn't too far from where my mother was, and we was from the other side, where the Suge was. You know what I'm saying? So that was how it was.
What was his reputation in Compton?
He was out. He had money. He had a lot of money.
Okay.
He had a lot of money.
Clearly, you don't want to speak on anything else. You know, I understand that. So
yeah, I don't want to get too deep.
Yeah, I ain't trying to get you in any trouble, so we're gonna move on from that. You know, okay. Who do you think killed Tupac?
Enemies that didn't want to hear him, didn't want to see him with power. That's what I'm gonna say. enemies that didn't want to see him with power, and it was a power move to kill him.
Do you think it was the government or no?
Like I said before, how can you prove that?
True. So you think it was somebody much less than the government? You think it was just everyday people, or do you think it was people in the industry that did it?
I don't feel like it was everyday people. Put it that way. I'm going to tell you, I do not feel like, because everyday people, it would have just been, you would have known, because usually being from the neighborhood and being from the inner city, when people that we know or we grow up with get killed, we usually know who did it and we usually know why they did it. It comes out. If it doesn't happen that same night, it comes out that week, or it comes out a month later, when you know what the motive was. When Tupac's situation, if he had still been living, he would have been larger than life. And he would have had a major following.
So
you know what I'm saying?
So you don't think gang members did it?
No, I don't feel that.
When was the last time you seen Tupac?
The last time I saw Tupac was, 96.
What was that moment like? What was that discussion like?
It was at a party. Well, it wasn't. I wouldn't say party. It was like at a function, like like a function studio. You know what I mean? So it was like that, and it was just everybody chilling. Music being done. You know what I'm saying? Creativity floating around. Flow sessions, Tupac being crazy, silly, and, acting like Scarface. You know what I'm saying? Just that moment.
What was this conversation like?
It was good. It was good. It was like it was like high, you was high on life, period. You know what I'm saying? The conversation was good. It was upbeat. It wasn't down or sad or, anything like that.
So what was your reaction when you heard Tupac got shot in Vegas? We'll get into when Tupac, actually died, but what was your reaction when news broke that Tupac got shot in Vegas?
I kind of was like blown away for a minute, like, nah, this can't be real. Okay, well, he got shot the first time. He survived it. He'll be okay. That's what I felt. Okay, and then it was like there was a gray area there somewhere where I felt like, I don't know about this one. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about this time. I looked at that picture where he was in the car with Suge in the Benz, and in his eyes, he looked very scared. He looked like he was like, this is it. That was the look he had. And to me, that reminded me of the Kennedys. It reminded me of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. I started thinking about all of that. And yeah, I just, when he got shot, I knew. I just felt, I said, he's not going to be here.
So, speaking of vibes, what was the vibe in Compton when Tupac got shot? Because, let's be honest, once Tupac got shot, the rumors was Compton
that
Crips.
Baby Lane did it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, please take me through.
Let me tell you what happened in Compton when, not to cut you off or anything, but what happened in Compton was it got crazy. The police was raiding houses, kicking doors in, people was getting shot. It was, it was a retaliation, something stupid, you know what I'm saying? That's like, okay, here's an example. If you want to divide and conquer somebody, you're going to basically go and have somebody kill somebody reputable in the neighborhood and say that they did it, get that rumor out to go spark up something else over here. So if everybody's attention is looking in the other direction, they won't see what's being covered up.
What was your reaction when it was announced that Tupac died?
anguish. I was like numb because it was like, damn, okay, Eric died, now Tupac. I was like, what's next? You know what I mean? I cried. I thought about the memories. You know what I'm saying? I thought about the conversation. I thought about the looks in his face and his eyes and how he seemed, even though he might have been, you know, I'm Tupac, but at the same time, deep down inside, I know that I'm being watched and I'm not going to be here. You could see that in him too. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, I don't know. It was just like a moving picture, honestly, because it was like he was in your life for a season, and boom, he was gone.
Okay, you just made a comment saying that, you know, Tupac felt like he was washed. It's clear that you got a theory about what happened to Tupac. Do you care to fully, you know, explain that theory and put it out there, or no?
Okay, this is what I can say. You got a man who's very prolific before his time. And what I mean by that is someone that is very looking at the world without rose-colored glasses, okay? And looking at the world for what it really is and seeing the power that money has and the group of people that control the money and seeing people that's starving in other countries. This is the stuff that used to bother Tupac a lot, okay? And when you have a person that has that type of conversation and that they're very talented and they can put these words and these thoughts into music and rhyme, it's going to draw attention. And because of that, you don't want that attention to be taken away from you. You want the attention to still be on you. So if somebody's going to come to you that's going to be a threat and take that attention from you, you're going to take them out. And if you notice with Pac, and this is crazy because I remember I had talked to this guy who was actually friends with Hussein Fatal. Okay, I had a beat for him that my son created, and he liked the beat. He loved it, and the genre. I mean, well, the actual content that we wanted to put in there was something that Pac would have jumped on. Okay. Right before this dude was able to come to California to collab on this track, he was killed in an accident. Well, I was like, damn. You know what I mean?
Right.
And all of the outlaws are dead. And then you got Tupac that's gone. Now, if you look at the names, Hussein, Gaddafi, you know what I'm saying? Think about all of this stuff. You know what I mean? This is not just something that's a coincidence. You know, this is real political stuff. So when you got somebody that powerful that's making a movement that is young and that's grabbing and opening up eyes of the ones that are asleep, he's a threat. That's what I'm going to say about that. And then everybody else can make their own opinions on what they see with that. That wasn't just, oh, he was a gang member, he was a random kid. You know, if he was in that era like that, come on. He shot the police. He shot off-duty police officers and got away with it.
Yeah, you're right.
And then you got to look at all of these blacks that's being murdered by police. I mean, people are not putting two and two together. Right after Pac died, right after this police officer that Christopher Dorner that did what he did and was trying to warn everybody. It was like everybody that tries to warn you or tries to tell people, they end up dead. So people got to look at that and see, are these coincidences? Or is it something that's just happening?
So I'm going to take it back a little. What was the reaction in Compton, California when it was announced that Tupac died?
Man, it was more murders. Compton had a lot of murders that year. It was crazy. The police was hot. I mean, they wasn't sure if it was going to be a revolution. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, I'm jumpy right now, just sitting here talking about this. This is crazy.
So it was that crazy back then when Tupac died. It was just shootings and everything. So it was pretty much retaliation for Tupac murder.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then everybody started waking up a little bit and saying, wait a minute, you know what? I don't feel like, nah, you know what I'm saying? It was like people started saying, nah, they couldn't have been Baby Lane that did that, man. I think that nah, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
People started really waking up slowly but surely.
So, now this is a good one. What was the reaction in California, definitely Compton or whatever, when Baby Lane got killed at the car wash?
It got quiet, and then it got like, wow, it was just, I think that's when people slowly started really waking up, because I was shocked when Baby Lane got killed. I was like, damn, okay, wow. You know what I mean?
Right.
I really want to go in detail, but I really can't, because I'm not, it's not my place to do that. But, it's like, to be honest with you, I feel like it was a higher power in control of all of that took place in Compton.
Yeah, I don't want to get you in no trouble or whatever. You still live in Compton, huh?
I don't still live in Compton, but I'm affiliated and I got family members that do.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. All right, we can move on. We can move on from that or whatever. I ain't trying to, get you in any situations or anything. Okay, I got a few more questions for you. Can you share a moment with you and Tupac that you haven't told yet?
I wanted to write a script with him. I wanted to collab on a script, and this script was basically supposed to be about going back in time, and it was supposed to be gang members that went back in time that had to fight their way through 1865 to come back into the future. And he liked the concept. And when they came back into the future, it was supposed to change the way things had happened in the past. So that right there is something that I'll always remember and I'll always cherish, because of the fact of how we discussed how we wanted the movie to end. And it was a cold piece. You know what I'm saying? So that was like something that I'll never forget.
Hey, did you have any relationships with anybody from Death Row besides Tupac?
Nope. Wait, let me go back. As far as when you say relationships, you talking about association, affiliation?
Yeah, people from Death Row you was affiliated with, friends with.
Jewel, her sister. Jewel, I knew Jewel's sister very well. It was somebody else, a couple of people that I know that was affiliated with Death Row as well. One of my cousins was Maxine Gates. You know what I mean? She was, basically connected to,
You had a relationship with Suge Knight too, right?
Suge Knight was a pen pal when he went to jail, when he went to prison.
Okay. Hey, what you think about his prison sentence right now? Like, what you think about that? Like his situation he going through right now?
I feel like it was karmatic. It was karma, because instead of him doing the right thing with Pop, protecting him at all times, you know what I'm saying? As far as that, you knew that this dude was deep. You should have been protecting him at all times. I felt that. I felt like he had a part in some of what happened. I also felt like, he muscled his way through the industry instead of actually honestly getting his way in through the industry, and all of that shit fell back on him. And he was just a college dude, He was a college dude. He had a job as a bodyguard, and he should have just, if he wanted to get into this business, it was a better way to do it. You can't expect to be in a business and muscle your way and bully your way through and expect things to last. That's not how it works.
Right.
Even what happened with Easy. You know what I'm saying? That was pretty scandalous. You know what I mean? To get releases. Come on. You don't have to do that to get releases. You know what I'm saying? It didn't have to go that route. It just made us as a whole, and this is something Tupac would have said, it made us look bad. It made us look like we didn't have our shit together. All of that could have been hashtagged out through conversation, through meetings. It could have been a roundtable discussion where it could have been Suge, Tupac, where it could have been Suge, Dr. Dre, and Easy at the table. It could have all been hashtagged out. It could have been one big organization that Easy wanted to do anyway. He wanted to get it all big one black distribution, black. So he wanted a black Sony, and that was damn good ideas that he had. And he's out of here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like people are not looking and paying attention. You know?
Right. That's real talk, man. So
Suge could have been far. He could have been another Berry Gordy. If he, you know what I'm saying? If he would have been right.
True. You know, that's facts.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there anything else you want to get off your chest about Tupac?
I miss Tupac very much. Him and his mom both were actually lights of the world. I knew it would be temporary. You know what I'm saying? But because they are gone doesn't mean that their memories should be gone. I would love to see people make murals of Pac, take his music, and do something positive with it. Don't just take his music and look at it as something negative, but take it and learn from it, because they're teaching it in colleges and these white folks are learning from it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that these brothers need to learn from it so that his death is not in vain.
That's deep, man. That's deep. So,
and this is, go ahead.
Oh, anything you want to say? You can keep going.
No, I'm good. I just got a little emotional.
Wow,
because it's always the good that die young, like he said.
Yeah, man. Terrible situation, man. You know, me being a Tupac fan, I wish he was here too. But, you know, the good thing about that is, you know, he's an icon. You know, he's always going to be remembered. You know, 100, 200, 300 years from now, people still going to be talking about Tupac. So, you know, that's the good thing about it.
Yeah, I wanted to say something else too. People think that photo is photoshopped. Some people do, but for everybody that's listening, Google that picture and see if you see Tupac by himself in that outfit, and let me know, because that's a real picture. That's a Polaroid shot.
Which photo are you talking about?
That photo of me and Tupac.
Oh no, that looks real. Who said that's fake? It looks real.
I mean, people will come up with something like, oh, it's Photoshop. You know what I'm saying? I just want to let people know off the top, that's a real photo. You know what I mean?
No, you got.
That was when, huh?
No, you got to be a troll to say that photo is fake. You know what I mean? Like, that's clearly a real photo.
Yeah. So.
You know, that photo been on the internet for years, man. You know what I mean? So I think it's dope to finally put a voice to that photo, and you know, people can find out who you are, you know, because as a Tupac fan, I'm pretty sure most Tupac fans seen that photo floating around the internet or whatever. So, you know, I think this is a dope interview, and people finally get to hear your story, your relationship with Tupac, and you know, put a voice to it, you know, and, you know, put a story behind that photo that's been floating around the internet for years. Yeah.
And it was, it was an honor to be able to speak with you about that and to open up about Pop, because, grief is something else. And even sometimes I still remember his smile. I remember when he told me that day on my birthday, he said, "You got it going on." I thought I was fly that night too, you know what I mean? And it was funny because he was real down to earth, a real one, you know what I'm saying? And they don't get no realer than him.
Right. Yeah. So before we end this interview, I have two questions for you. The first question is, What is the reaction from people in Compton today when Tupac name is mentioned? Is it any ill will against him or anything?
Nah, everybody loves Pac. Pac is Pac is well loved in Compton. Believe that. Well loved. And I think people are aware of the situation that happened with Pac once they started doing the life and times of Tupac, and when they were doing that interview with that guy Frank, they started really looking at what was really going on. So Pac's memory is very much alive in Compton. It'll very much be remembered, and a lot of people felt like Suge pretty much, was the end of his career. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if I was to go and talk to like 10 different people in Compton about Pac, they still listen to his music. You could still hear people rolling down Atlantic and Compton Boulevard listening to a classic Tupac song.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that goes into my last question. What is your favorite Tupac song, and what is your favorite Tupac album?
My favorite Tupac song is Keep Your Head Up. It will always be my favorite Tupac song, because I felt like during that time that song came out, it was like he was reaching out. You know what I'm saying? So that song, Keep Your Head Up, is always going to be my favorite. My favorite album from him is Strictly for My Niggas. That's one, and I got to throw in All Eyes on Me.
So with that being said, man, great interview. Thank you for giving me your time, telling your story about you and Tupac, y'all friendship and everything. So before I end this interview, is there anything else you want to say? Is there anything you want to shout out?
I'd like to give a shout out to my family, and people that's listening. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate all today. And hopefully we'll be able to speak again in the future.
Absolutely, man. We'll definitely keep in touch. Hopefully this probably is not the last interview. But with that being said, man, I enjoyed the interview. Thank you for doing the interview with me. And we out. Deuces.
Bye-bye, you.